And we're here with Jim Coker at Knobcon 22. Jim, it's great to see you as always. And I'm looking forward to you telling us about your new quad LFO, the QV1.
Let's dive right in. All right, so this is the QVL, the quad variable LFO, new 512 product. It's 4 LFOs in 12 HP. We've got 4 outputs on the bottom, 4 CV inputs above those that are mappable to different parameters, 2 gate inputs to reset LFOs or trigger some internal envelopes for modulation, 6 high-resolution endless potentiometers for adjusting parameters, 4 buttons for working through the edit pages, and 2 bright and contrasty OLEDs for seeing what's going on. As you can see, we've got waveform displays on here. I organize it as A side with LFOs 1 and 2, B side with LFOs 3 and 4. B side is still set up for my live rig last night, so they're actually attenuated down quite far, so I can plug them into different modules and just get a little bit of movement going. There are 4 LFOs, 2 envelope generators, very simple ones for internal modulation, 8 modulation buses, and 4 output processors. But overall, we organize it so that the things that you need the most are immediate and accessible right away, but that you can dive down when you need to get access to these extra functions so that you can solve difficult problems without having to patch in additional modules.
It reminds me so much of your design philosophy for the Vector, in which on the surface it's a step sequencer, but the reality is as you go beneath the surface there is so much more. It becomes such a deeply rich compositional tool. The same thing here, it's not just an LFO. There are so many different ways that you can work with it to be able to solve a lot of problems.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's that whole balancing act is you want to have immediacy available right away so you can perform, so you can improvise, you can get started with a new idea. But later on, particularly during composition, when you're trying to say, I want to patch this LFO into CV1 on my SEM, but there's no attenuator here, so you can adjust the outputs with the output processor so you can get the behavior you want here and not have to include an extra attenuator module.
It's great.
So it's organized with LFOs 1 and 2 on the left side, LFOs 3 and 4 on the right side. The top level page, you get 3 parameters per side that are customizable. So I've got waveform control over LFO 1 and rate control over LFO 1 and rate control over LFO 2, which you can see in the background as a sine wave. I hit the edit button. Now I'm editing LFO 1. We still have waveform and rate like we saw before, but now we've also got a level control, pulse width / shape, the unit for the rate. So we've got wide range of frequency for kind of generic use, but we also have a super slow range, hertz, and beat-based ranges. You can synchronize it via the gate inputs on the front panel or via backplane connection to the Vector. Hit edit again, and now we're editing LFO 2, all the same parameters. Also, I should mention we have some chaos waveforms. So we have the Lorenz attractor, which is a chaotic circuit that actually has 3 outputs, and I'll show you later how you'd be able to override one of the outputs to take one of the secondary or the third output from the Lorenz. We have a Perlin noise generator and the logistic modular, which is another chaos circuit. So I'm going to take this back down to the sine, and I'm going to slow it down just a little bit. We go down one more level, and now we're on the modulation page. And I've set up LFO 2 to target LFO 1. I'm going to turn up the amount, around 60% or so, back out to the top page, and now we can see that LFO 1, which is this triangle, is getting squeezed and opened up every so often from LFO 2. I can change the rate to LFO 2 to get different behaviors. If you set them at kind of a similar rate, you actually get a kind of a wave shaping effect that can be a lot of fun.
Wow.
We have 2 modulation buses on this page, 2 more here. At any time, I can press Edit B, and now I'm editing the other side. Press Trig A to back up. So I can hold Trig A, go back to the front page, Edit B, edit LFO 3 and 4, and so on. And then We also have settings pages for the triggers. So a trigger can reset an LFO or it can trigger the envelope generator. You can set up a simple envelope generator, attack release, attack sustain release. Mostly this is for internal use. Say you want to swell a vibrato at the beginning of a note. So you'd be able to set a gate output from the vector or another sequencer into the gate input here, map that to the envelope, use the modulation page to map that to some parameter, whether it's rate or level on the LFO, or multiple parameters. Finally, we have the customization page, your sync settings page, and then output controls. And again, these are fairly far down the menu, but they're not the sort of things you typically use right away.
Right.
It's more along the lines you're fine-tuning a patch, and you really need, you can, for example, LFO1 is output here. I could set the operation to scale up. So instead of running -5 to +5 volts, it's now 0 to 5 volts. And so when I back up on the page, now this LFO is high up on the graph. This is kind of solving that solution of plugging into a modulation input with no attenuator.
Right.
Similarly, on the output page, we can offset it. We can apply gain, which will clip at the top and bottom ranges. We can then readjust the level. We could add a little bit of slew. All this can be saved into one of 64 presets. You'll be able to load the presets here, or you can trigger them via program changes from the vector.
Wow, that is the most comprehensive LFO I think it's safe to say that I've ever seen. When will it be available?
Sometime this fall. It'll be $379 and US and worldwide.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for doing that deep dive into the QVL Quad LFO. It's an amazing piece of kit, and I think that a lot of people are going to really like it, and it will solve a lot of problems in people's Eurorack rigs.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming by.